Hi, this is Cecilia Oliveira, and this is How I Got Into Data, a Woman in Data podcast limited series. When I changed careers, I didn't expect to find so many people that do not come from a traditional data or STEM background. There's so many incredibly interesting stories. This Women in Data podcast spin-off is about representation, diversity, and finding your own place in the data world. It has been 3 years since I transitioned from hospitality sales to data analyst, and although it felt like I was throwing myself from a cliff and hoping data would catch me at the bottom of it, I couldn't be happier with the choice I made. I had the chance to chat to some amazing women who wanted to share their stories. They're so inspiring, and I hope they inspire you too. Enjoy! Today, I'm excited to introduce Karina Naminas, the CEO of Label Your Data. Karina's journey is a fascinating one, beginning with liberal arts and journalism and evolving into a leadership role in the tech industry. She started her career in customer support, took on various roles, and eventually co-founded a company specializing in data annotation for AI development. We'll explore her unique path, the pivotal moments that shaped her career, and the lessons she learned along the way. Hi everyone, this is Cecilia again, and today I have another very special guest, Karina Naminas. So she's here today to talk about her transition into the data field. So Karina, can I ask you to introduce yourself, please?
Sure. Hi, Cecilia. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me. It's my big pleasure. And I hope everything I'm going to tell during this recording is going to be somehow beneficial, or at least will give some food for thought to people who will be listening. So thanks again. Yeah, so my name is Karina. Currently, I'm the CEO of a company called Label Your Data. And what we do, we specialize in providing data annotation services to anybody around the world who is working on machine learning algorithms, data science, or any kind of AI development. I've been doing it for 4 years already. The company is 4 years old. And currently we work with companies worldwide, with universities, with big enterprises, anybody who is involved in AI. And to be honest, today it feels like everybody actually is involved with AI in some ways.
Yes, no, absolutely. At the moment, I think if you're not in AI, what are you doing with yourself?
Exactly.
But tell me, how did you get into this? Because we obviously spoke before, we had a little chat, and you explained to me how you got into this data field, and I find it really interesting. So tell me, when did you realize you wanted to move into this field, or how did that happen?
Sure. It happened naturally. I can't say it was my, conscious choice, but I'm definitely 100% happy about how it worked out in the end. So I personally come from the liberal arts background, not STEM. I started working early on when I was just 18 as a customer support representative in a company called Sport Your App. And simultaneously in the same year, I started my bachelor's in journalism. So I've been doing that for a couple of years because the only skill I got back in those days was just good English. And as I continued doing that, there were points when I was realizing that I want something more and that I want to grow. And I kind of figure out my own path to career growth, which is that I've been always grabbing the opportunities that were presented to me. So I started working as customer support, doing journalism simultaneously. Then I thought I wanted something more and moved to the onboarding position in the same company. Then after a couple of years, I moved to internal HR. And then when I felt like I hit, the point where I wanted to do something even more, I just came to my boss, Daria Leshenka, and I told her that I want to do something else. I want to do something more. I feel bold enough. I don't know what it's going to be, but I want something bigger, and I feel like I can do it. And that was just the day when Daria said that she and her partner in business, they have this idea of building a new company, which is going to be focused on data annotation. Nobody knows anything about it. No advisors, no experience. We know there is such a thing. So if you want, just give it a try. And I thought, why not? I think I can do it. And even if I can't, even if it, fails at some point of time, anyways, it's going to be the experience that I'm going to learn from and move on. This April is going to be my 4th year as the CEO of Playbill Your Data.
Excellent. I mean, I love this story. I think there's two main things that I focus on when you're telling me this is first of all, you had a boss that was so open to just an idea or just open to, okay, so what can we do next and help you get to that next point. I think that is so commendable from her. But also, it feels like you were in the right place at the right time. You didn't let that opportunity go, and you've done really well to see the opportunity. Just go for it.
Absolutely. And I think another important thing is that you have to talk about it to people if you want something,
Yeah.
right? They can be supportive, they can encourage you, but they're never going to know that you want something if you're not going to tell them. So it's also for me, it's one of the lessons that you have to talk to people. You have to tell them about your willingness to grow, and it works in the same with my team right now. I encourage them to tell me if they want something more, if they want to grow, if they want to move. It's not that I'm gonna do it like magically on the same day. There is a promotion, or I'm gonna create a position for you, but I'm gonna know that you want it, and when the opportunity presents itself, I know whom to present it to.
You're absolutely right. So tell me, did you take any steps? I mean, you did tell us how you got into the data field, but what steps did you take to pivot really into it?
Sure. So apart from, the understanding that I want something more and talking to people, which were, to be honest, not always supportive, right? There were people who encouraged me. There were people who were doubtful of whether that's the right thing to do or whether I'm, capable enough or experienced enough. But I just decided I'm going to lean on the people who are encouraging. Then for me, it started really with a lot of homework and with a lot of things that I had to do myself. So started from just researching the information, researching the field. Well, I knew that I'm going to work in the data annotation, right? But it's connected to machine learning, to data science, to AI. And there is a lot of information around it on the web. So that's the first thing I started to do. I started the research. Then we started visiting conferences that were related to this field. And so it was about just discovering and getting more knowledge and trying to figure out where kind of my place is. And only after that, when I kind of understood the area, I started to do courses to educate myself with additional tools, talking to advisors in this specific field. And that's how basically I gained knowledge. And a big part after that was the trial and error period when we were just building the company. A lot of it was built on just giving it a try, seeing if we can do it, doing some pilots, some tests, and stuff like this. So it's just, kind of slow and steady path with big ambitions and small steps.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't expect to be going directly to the huge steps. I mean, you can't expect to understand everything about data annotation or machine learning or anything like that from one day to the next. It just does not happen. It needs to be, baby steps. And then at some point you look, oh my God, look at all of this learning I've had.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what was the scariest part for you?
Thank you for the question. It took me a lot of, reflection to on things that I've been doing, but in the end, I think the scariest part for me was that trial and error period. Because as I mentioned earlier, none of our co-founders or advisors or me had any previous experience in data annotation, in data or in data science, or anything like this. So in order to start the company and to push it forward from the very beginning, was sometimes, and I personally had to pretend that I knew what I was talking about and then figuring out how to do it. So, for example, in February 2020, like a couple of months before we officially launched the company, right, we went to San Francisco at a conference, which was all about autonomous driving, where we had to meet our competitors and potential clients and just, explore the market and see what people are talking about. And it was very funny and interesting because, on the first day you talk to people, you ask them questions, and then the next day you use that information to impress people, on the second day, other people you're talking about. I was trying, different pitches, whether we have to talk about our expertise or security or a social mission or whatever. And then after the conference, we came back home and I had like 100 leads to process, and we started emailing them. And during the first half a year, I was the one who was actually doing the annotation myself for those pilot projects. Lots of times, I think like 90%, I've been receiving negative feedback, or, our leads chose other companies. And that was obvious because, we were very early in our expertise and experience. But I think it was from that negative feedback and from those failures and from that constant research on what we have to do and how to solve this problem. From that came out my current experience and current expertise. When I talk to a lead on the call, because I do a lot of business development and sales in the company as well, even right now I can advise people. They come to us rather as to people who can advise on how to correctly build it, what tools to use. We are not just workforce providers at the moment, but we can also share our expertise in how to better set it up, integrate into your current models or integrate into your current infrastructure and so on. So to summarize, the scariest part was, I guess, stepping into the unknown field and continuing to figure it out.
I think it's one of those like fake it till you make it
Yeah,
moments, and you definitely learn from failure. And perhaps it wasn't the easiest first 6 months when you started and you were doing the annotation yourself and you got all the feedback. But that's also how you learn, and that's also how now it's a thriving business and you guys are doing so well.
sure.
What was the most important advice that you wish someone would have given to you before you started the company?
Well, I think I used to think that there is someone or something can happen or someone can say to you to motivate you to do things. Like, you listen to a podcast and then this magic moment hits you when someone gives an inspiring story and you get so motivated, you start, you change your life or change your career path. But honestly, the biggest lesson for me and advice that I got actually from one of the books that we've been reading on our book clubs in the company was that motivation actually comes from results and not vice versa. To me, there is no such thing that can inspire and motivate me more than myself. So we first got our client, when I first signed my lead, first lead in the company, I think that was the pivotal moment for me when I realized that I can do it, despite how unexperienced I was, despite how little knowledge I had and that I'm only starting doing it, despite that, again, fear of unknown and failure. And so now I know that regardless of the bold choice anyone is thinking of making, of course, you'll be failing in the beginning, and that's fine. But when you first start seeing a success or a result, all of the previous things, all of the failed pilots that we had, all of the scary and embarrassing calls with the leads that I've been doing during the first 6 months, it becomes really irrelevant and it cannot really bring you down because you have your result, regardless of how small it is, right? Our first lead was like very small check and the company, unknown, no name company, but that was such an inspiring moment for me that from then on, I knew I can do it. And it applies to everything, literally, not only career path. Whether you want to, I don't know, lose weight or start a new hobby or, I don't know, do some, big change in your social life or again, make a career switch. The moment it starts to give you the result, that's when you will understand, or at least I understood, nothing else can inspire me. No one else can inspire me more.
That's excellent. I love that. And you're absolutely right. Motivation comes from results. I never thought of it that way, but that makes sense. And it's a constant effort. It's not something that comes just after one effort. You need to have consistency, and that's something you can use. You're absolutely right throughout, not just in data or when you want to transition into data. So the last question then, tell us, what are you most proud of?
Thank you for the question. It also took me a while to think about it, and I thought I could name like a name of some big client that I've signed or like a team member that I helped to grow professionally. But honestly, at the moment, my biggest proud is my career path. I've been working hard and I can admit it. And it's one of the things that you, Cecilia, told in the beginning, right? It's not only the right place and time, but it's also that someone has to grab an opportunity. Like you have to make a step forward and you have to acknowledge it. At this point of my life and career, I acknowledge that I have been working hard to make it work this way, although I never planned it to be this way. I never thought I'm going to end up in a place like this. And there were times when I wanted to give up, especially if when I was receiving some negative feedback or when I, started doubting myself somehow. But here I am in the end, leading a data annotation company, working with world-class enterprises, researchers in the top universities, and contributing to the global data-driven, AI-driven economy. And I find it fascinating, right? I mean, there is so many things you can do in the world in general, but in data especially, right? There are so many new professions popping up. And I myself am an example when I come from liberal arts, right, from journalism background, but I somehow ended up in data, and I can use those skills to facilitate the data work with for our clients, right, again, for enterprises, for universities. And the data is shaping the present. It will be shaping future even more. And I'm really proud to be a part of it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You should be proud of your own career. Let's be proud of ourselves for a little bit and give ourselves a little bit of cuddles, It's me. I'm proud of me. That's good.
You should be. I remember you told me the story, how you switched from hospitality to data, and during those, crazy times of COVID. And I thought to myself, wow, that's a bold move. And it inspired me too. I find it amazing.
And I think also what you said, plans don't always work. Whatever I thought I was going to be at the age I am at the moment when I was 20, I'm so far from it. But honestly, now that I think of what I thought I wanted at 20, oh my God, I so don't want it anymore. So far from it. Really don't. Cecilia at 20, she wasn't too sure what she wanted, or she thought she wanted something. Karina, thank you so, so much for our chat today. It was really lovely. It was really inspiring, and I hope it inspires more people.
Sure. It truly inspired me when I was reflecting, on answering those questions. And that goes back to the same point I made, right, about motivating myself. But I hope it was useful. I'm glad to share the story. And again, thank you very much for inviting me. And that was a great chat indeed.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to How I Got Into Data. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe for more content. Remember, your feedback is important to us, so please leave a review if you can. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.